Hey guys, we're here with overall rank number 19. How are you, mate?
I'm very well.
That's good.
Enjoying being in 19th, that's for sure.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, your team's been doing pretty well. What are your moves you're thinking of doing in the upcoming weeks?
I think I'm going to bring in Cleary this week. And so to get Cleary, I'm getting rid of Plath and Weeks, and I'm going to get Cleary and sort of a down cash as well. I'm going to get Jack Howarth.
Yeah,
He's been playing okay, scored pretty well last week. Coach seems to think he has that spot now. So a little bit of job security, but still, he's a bit of a risk in terms of he's a cheap player. But for me, it kind of sits with what I kind of need over the next few weeks as well.
yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's between either Cleary or Casey McLean. But I mean not Cleary, it's between Howe or Casey McLean.
Yeah, and I think the McLean. I mean, there's a lot of guys talking about McLean. I think he's a decent option. Uh, um, but I mean, it just depends what you want to do. I mean, the guy who's in 20th spot. We were having a chat yesterday about it, and there's like two ways you can do this. You can sort of hold your trades because I don't have a lot of trades, and you can sort of you know just deal with whatever comes up, or and which is what Don's thinking about doing, or you can go like me. I can go from having 5 trades to 3 trades, and just hope I don't get sort of burnt by injuries or anything like that. But
Yeah,
it's a weird one. I think I'll end up with 21 green dots. I have ended up with 21 green dots. So you can't even loop anyone, right? So that's kind of strange.
yeah. So who are you looking as your trade outs? Do you think like a Plath and a Weeks or
Yeah, Plath and Weeks for Cleary, who I'm going to captain, and Jack Howarth.
yeah. So it looks like a pretty strong squad. How do you feel not having a Payne Haas in here, considering you're probably low on trades and can't probably want to hold trades for injuries if you do go with those 3 trades left?
I think if you look down, I've got Isaiah Yeo already, so I think from a mid, I mean he will probably be rested on that last round.
Well, I saw
But he
something
was
that
rest,
they were
yeah,
resting them round 26, not round 27, because they
yeah.
didn't want them to travel to Townsville.
Yeah, okay, well that makes sense as well.
Yeah,
So, but I've got enough cover, which is kind of why mids and edges I'm reasonably comfortable with what I've got. I like Payne Haas, but I've never actually had him in my side in fantasy, so um, I'm hassless in that respect. I've
yeah,
always had Isaiah Yeo, though. He's the kind of consistent guy that's always been in my team, and even on a bad day, the guy still manages to score 55 to 60 sort of thing, right?
yeah. I own both of them, and they've been both really good.
Mm. I think
Um,
Colomatunga, the other guy, Colomatunga and Curran, I've got in the like last week, and I think both of those guys, Colomatunga is in great form, so I'm pretty happy with, and Curran just seems to getting better and better, and he's getting more minutes and sort of great job security in there. I think with you've got Max King no longer in the doggies, and they're going to play every game for the rest of the season. So that kind of like the 4 trades I made last week and the 2 I'm making this week. My criteria was that people had to, as much as we know, play or be possible to play for every round. But yeah, I've got people in there that I've got two Storm players. They've got a buy coming up. Garrick's got a buy coming up. So but if I look at my overall buys coming up versus the team that I've got, I should be able to field 17 comfortably every week.
yeah. I do think Josh Curran's a very good buy. Uh, the only thing that really goes to my eye about your team is when Munster's back, you're going to look to trade Wishart at all, considering he's going to go probably back to the bench and will drop cash.
I don't think I can. He's like my emotional talisman.
Yeah,
He's the actual one player I've had since the start of the season. I got him in round one. I don't know. I think because I'm as old as hell. I still remember his old man playing, and I love the way he played footy. So I think no, Tyron's going to stay in my side. I think even if he's just on the bench or he's a looper for me, because look at this week, I don't have a looper. So if he fills that role and gives me some optionality towards the end of the season, why not? He can do that for me.
yeah. I do think that. I mean, at dual position too, if he gets like a start or you have an injury, maybe you could play him for a week and just like, he's,
Yeah, well, as I said, I've had him since round one where he was coming on as a reserve hooker. So, and
yeah,
every time he did on a PPM basis, the guy scores really, really well. So, he was quite fortunate that he's had that opportunity to play in the halves in an excellent team that's going quite well this year. So, and he can score massive if he cuts loose, right?
yeah, definitely. So just one more. There was a bit of chat going around of Jerome Hughes, or like selling Jerome Hughes, considering Cam Munster's back soon. Do you think that this is a good trade considering Hughes averages about 54 this year with Munster?
No, I think I don't I wouldn't subscribe to that as a good trade. I think Hughes is a good hold.
Yeah,
I think most of us have still got Galvin. So, you've got coverage. Let's say Cleary does get rested in round 26, which is likely. Uh, if I was left Hughes, and hopefully that's not the same round that the
yeah,
Storm are out. I think I've got enough coverage in there to sort of get through that. But no, I won't be selling Hughes.
yeah. I think it's just you don't sell keepers, and I think he's been unreal with Munster or without Munster, and I think Munster almost helps him because he just gets a bit more attack considering Munster's so good.
Yeah, I mean they're different, right? I mean, you look at Wishart's he's a running sort of 5'8", right? And he gets out and has a crack at the line. He's actually quite a big guy as well, so he's
Mm.
he's he's quite an imposing human. So yeah, I like Wishart. I've always liked Wishart. As I said, I think it reminds me a lot of his old man and how he used to play.
Yeah, but yeah, team looks pretty good. Couple of good pods out there with Tommy Eisenhoof and Jacob Preston. They look doing really well.
Yeah, Eisenhoof again. I made a few decisions before. Where the reason I'm in sort of 19th spot was I planned meticulously well for the buy rounds, and even got myself a spreadsheet like everyone's supposed to do, which I've never done before. And I kind of stuck to it. I was actually quite disciplined. I knew exactly who I was trading out and exactly who I was trading in on what round, and kind of stuck to that. And then used last week to kind of clean up the injuries that I'd kind of accumulated along the way. So, Icon and Max King, and I had Arrow as well.
Yeah,
So I had like three players I had to get rid of last week.
yeah. I think the injuries have been a big toll, which is the only reason I'm a bit skeptical. Even myself personally, if I do two trades, I'll be left with two trades left over for the rest of the season. But I think if you plan enough and you have enough cover there, you could probably get away with it this year.
Yeah, listen, I mean, we've still got 7 rounds of footy to go. You can't possibly predict what's going to happen with injuries, etc. And sod's law. If it goes anything like it's gone throughout the year, then something unexpected is going to happen, right? So, it's just a matter of I'll have 3 trades left, and I'll kind of utilize those trades just for injuries, right? There'll be no upgrades or sideways. I don't have the luxury of those anymore.
Yeah, either. I don't think many people do though. I think trades are kind of a luxury right now for most teams, considering how many injuries there's been. Like people. I've seen a couple of random trades, like people trading out Ryan Madison and bringing him back in, considering he got that starting spot again, and just like I think there's a lot you can learn
Yeah.
for next year going in to it.
Yeah, I think I think most people, if you bring you back Cleary, for example, this will be the second time. I think most people would have had him in their team earlier in the year.
Mm.
He was out for prolonged injuries. I know some guys that I'm in another private league with. They held him for like 5 or 6 weeks. He came back, got injured instantly. He's been a frustrating sort of hold, and in some ways a hell of a risk to bring in. And he's sort of like the player I'm putting all my chips on, sort of thing, that he stays healthy for the remaining 7 rounds.
Yeah,
Hope he does. And I think the problem with Cleary is, everyone loves the chin, right? And if you've got the chin in your squad, you're probably going to put a captain on him. And if he gets 86, which it looked like he got last week, I think he got downgraded to 76, and you
yeah,
don't have that, mate, you're giving up 30 to whatever points around. And I'm kind of, as you can see, I'm at the pointy end of this, and I'm trying to win the bloody thing, not not disappear into the night. Sort of what happened to that guy.
yeah,
So I Don and I had a good chat about it yesterday on Jamie's private group, but there's there's no winning strategy from here. You kind of have to just go with what your gut sort of says and see how it works out, right?
Yeah, because you're not that many points behind winning. You're about 350 or 330. So
225.
225, yeah. So it's not that bad at all. Like, I mean, you could very much easily get it one big week and him
Yeah.
having one low week.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to a couple of these guys. There's, it's kind of fun. I mean, listen, my goal this year, just so you put everything clearly into perspective, was to finish in the top 2,000.
Yeah,
And last year I finished, I think, just outside. I was around 14,000. Same objective. But this year, with a bit better planning and a hell of a lot of luck, I kind of, when everyone was getting hammered by the same guy with the same injury, I kind of missed them. Did that multiple weeks in a row. So yeah, there's a hell of a lot of luck that goes into this, right? The guys that I've been playing with this for a few years, my son got me involved in this about 3 years ago. They know they'll be the first to tell you that I'm rubbish at fantasy, right? But this year got lucky, right?
yeah,
So
that's fair enough.
every dog has his day, right?
Yeah, they all do. But yeah, just a quick one. Looking at my side currently ranked about
Okay.
2.2K. What are your overall thoughts on it? And I think this week I'll be bringing in Jack Howarth and Nathan Cleary for KO Weeks and Max Plath.
Okay. So same trades that I'm doing. So
Yeah.
I can't put you out of those trades because I like them. Let me have a look here, mate. I think, and this will leave you with 2 trades, right?
Yeah, 2 trades left over.
Okay. I think I really love your mids. I think, Yo, Haas, Kolomatangi. I think you got the 3 best mids running around right now. Little, I don't know. He's been scoring pretty well, right?
Yeah, he's
And I
been
think,
making it recently.
you will notice there's a number of people in the sort of top 10 sort of thing that, they've got the Jack de Bellens, the Eisenhuths, there's a lot of Dragons players in the top team. So, I can't
Yeah.
sort of say.
I mean, I picked him up around 12.
Oh, okay. Harry Grant's been an interesting one. I had Grant for the longest time. I only got rid of him during the sort of buy rounds, but it's great that you've hung on to him. I think he has a great opportunity to come back and score well.
Yeah.
You've got a few. I mean, you've got Ethan Strange, which has been a good sort of stronghold, I guess. And your back 3, Holmes. Wow, I wish I had Holmes. I think Holmes is a better rugby league player than he is a fantasy player.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
It does.
I'm actually a rugby coach in real life, and I look at how that young man plays, and he's a fantastic footy player.
Oh, yeah.
But I think as a fantasy, as owning him in fantasy, maybe not as good, but
He's still got a 47.6 average for the season.
yeah, no, it's not like he's rubbish, and you kind
Yeah.
of get what you says on the tin sort of thing with him. But and he can go big. I mean, when he scores, and he can score, he puts some points on the board.
Yeah.
What else? And Madison as well. I mean, you've got some great players here, mate. I'm surprised you're not ranked higher than what you are.
Well, I was, I think in round 17, I was 744 there.
Okay.
I've kind of decreased, like you see there, Tohu, Mitch Moses, Ewan Aiken, Max King. Like, had to make a fair few trades. Plath's gone out. So,
Yeah, I think because I kind of reversed engineered it, right? I looked at round 19. I think at round 11, I looked at my team, how it would stand at round 19, and I figured I had about 6 players that would be playing in round 19. I went, okay, that's not going to work for me. So kind of worked my way backwards to how I made all the trades to get to at least fielding 13 guys in round 19. And that was kind of my
fair enough.
I made all of my rank. I think round 11 or something, I was about 850th, and just kind of every week through the buy rounds, I made ranks, except for last week. I was 19th last week. I'm 19th this week. So
Yeah.
kind of went
kind of
nowhere.
Shows that one big week you can like make massive ranks.
Yeah, 13, 16, and 19, I finished in the top 500-ish, right? In all 3 of those big buy rounds, and just made massive strides in those weeks.
Yeah. Just a quick one. So I didn't see in your team we had Tom Starling. I know personally of the podcast we spoke him up very big when he got that starting role first. And I think we picked him up in round 17. If you
Mhm.
didn't own him and you had like trades there, would you have any interest in him at all at 438k still?
Yeah, I bought in Starling last week, so probably a little bit late in getting on the bandwagon with him. But listen, I like Ricky when he was a player, and you say, yeah, go Ricky. Mate, he's a lunatic as a coach. Lovely guy apparently, but lunatic as a coach. I think the problem with anyone in the Raiders is Starling, in my mind, is a much better halfback than Levi. Sorry, Hooker
Yeah.
than Levi, but hasn't had that opportunity. And now Ricky sort of, oh, okay, look, this kid's good, so he's getting good minutes, blah blah blah. I don't know. I think he's a little bit all over the place as a coach to sort of bank on. If you're bringing in Starling, it comes with a huge Ricky risk, and I think that's as long as you go in there knowing that, fine. I think the return or the reward on getting him is going to be really good. I
Yeah.
think he's a 50 plus sort of player based on what I'm seeing.
Well, in our eyes, it was if he kept the spot, it was a no-brainer. Like he could get up to 600, 650k. Like I think we all saw what he can do. I don't know if you were playing. I think in 2021 when he went absolutely crazy at the back end of the season, and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, you needed to have style, and otherwise, yeah,
Yeah, but if you look, one of the other weird things about where we are at this time of the year, it's more about what points you can get every week. Cash generation, if you're playing a sort of, normal NRL, cash generation is interesting, but not entirely relevant, right? That's relevant when you've got trades to make. So I'm not looking at anything from a cash generation perspective. I'm looking at everyone from a what do I think you could score for me this week sort of perspective.
yeah. So, like I think last week I brought in Michael Cheekham, and I mean I think he has a bit of cash to make, but I didn't really bring him in for that sake of
Mm.
making me the cash. Kind of brought him in because if he holds that edge or center spot, I feel like he can average anywhere from a 35 to a 45, and just with that dual
Okay.
position, that's like a player. I think yeah, it's handy to have in your side. You know.
Yeah, no, I think there's a few. I'm looking at your team. I mean, you've got some very good cattle in there, mate. There's some good players that can go big, right?
Yeah. Also missing the likes of like a Garrick and a Galvin though. That's the problem. Traded them out in about round 14 and 15, I think.
Yeah, Galvin's been the like from a cash generation perspective. He's been the lad this year, right? I think
So
a lot of us have had him since round one or round two sort of thing, and he's done nothing but make cash, right? So he's whereas other ones, I think Yo was around 900 grand at the start of the year when I got him.
yeah,
He's
I brought
like
him in.
774, you know.
Yeah, I brought him in round four when Payne Haas went down injured and it was 903k.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the big dogs that you kind of always, and Yo's a pretty reliable scorer, as I said earlier. But everyone's kind of lost or bled a little bit of value, and that's why you look at the sort of top 20, top 30 sort of players. There's not massive team values. I think this time last year, everyone was kind of cracking up around the 15 million plus. Just not seeing that this year because, and I think I know why. I mean, there's good players that have been, as their sort of, as their ability to increase cash was right there, low break even. They get injured, and then you got to kind of kick him out of your side and not actually realize that value. And I think that's happened too many times to too many players throughout the season. That's why no one's really accumulating big squad values.
Yeah, I think the big one, just like the Harry Grant, like he went from 850 odd K last year down to 641k. Like just a change in form, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I said I owned Grant up until just a few weeks ago. I'm a massive fan of as a rugby coach in the. By the way, I'm rugby union, not rugby league. I'm a
Yeah,
rugby
right.
coach. That young man's work ethic is amazing. I mean, I'd love a team full of guys with that sort of work ethic. Harry really shines, right? But yeah, he's fantasy wise, he just hasn't been amazing this year. And we kind of I think that's the thing. Expectation is, you got Harry in your side, you've always got the best hooker in your side. This year, I think there's been a couple of others that have Brayley at the start of the year he's kind of lost his way or lost his spot almost now. But Brayley was very good for a long time. Now you've got Cook. I managed to get Cook a few weeks ago. He's been scoring amazing as well since I grabbed him in. But yeah, it's weird. Harry, we always expect Harry to do well.
Yeah, Harry's. I mean, I was expecting him to just be that set and forget hooker at the start of the season. Like I was like, oh, it's a no-brainer. You have to go with him.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
mean, it's good for
But
next
then
year.
you've got Campbell and Carraz down there, mate. They're good players. Campbell's got a 65 or 70 in him. Just he just needs to plan a game where it gets a bit of space and they start to score and not get put away. They got slotted by Manly last week, right?
Yeah,
But in a winning game, Campbell can score a ton. Right? He's a 65 plus player easily.
definitely. I mean, I've had Carraz since round one, so that's been very handy. He's been so much better on the wing than centers fantasy scoring wise.
Yeah, yeah. No, he's pretty consistent. Right? I've had him for a while, but not since round one. But I've had him early on. But
Yeah,
I liked his duel. It was a pricey but good duel.
yeah, I know. But talking about another center wing fullback duel, Hamaso Tabua Fido. I did a deep dive and him kind of in an 18 break even. But is there any like would you be interested in him at all? Considering like what he can do, but with the 1.4 tries per game this season, it just kind of screams trap to me personally.
No, I'm a Hammer fan. So again, probably more as a real life player as opposed to a fantasy player. He his ability to see what's going on and react to it on the field is one of the best in NRL in my mind. So he can, he creates space where there doesn't seem to be any. So no, I mean, it's weird that I haven't had him in my team this season. He was in my team pretty much all of last season, but he's had a couple of injuries, which has sort of limited the amount of games that he's played this year. But no, I think him looks fit at the moment. Was impressive recently. Yeah, I don't think that's a trap. I think he needs to score tries to score points. Yes,
Yeah,
but his ability to find the line is one of the best in the game, mate. So
he scores so many of them.
chances are he'll continue to score, and not just it's not just a one. He has a two or a three in him from
Yeah,
time to time.
very underpriced too as a player. Just, I mean, I know you're not really. You kind of look for cut price keepers at this time. At this time, so yeah, I don't mind Hamaso.
Yeah, Hammer, I don't mind. If it was Hammer or Teddy, I'd probably go Hammer. And that's, probably there's a lot of people that wouldn't agree with that idea.
Yeah, I would go Hammer over Teddy. But talking about another player at 860k. If you told me to start the season, Mitch Barnett would be the most expensive player. 21 rounds in, I think you're crazy. But
Yeah. Listen, I had him on the top of my list of people that I wanted to get in after the buy rounds. He got very expensive. His form in the sort of Origin was unbelievable. I think as a footy player, he's an amazing NRL footy player. But
yeah,
he just got too expensive, and I think there's one more. They got a buy on the last round, is it?
yeah,
In
round 27.
Yeah. I figure I might have some other if I'm still sort of holding Hughes, for example, and they're looking like they're going to make the finals. They might rest some of that. So I kind of didn't include him in my squad. Could have, but didn't, on the basis that, when I was coming out around 19, looking at what I needed to do in 20, he was a guy that would probably play would play 7 instead of 8 rounds. And that for me just excluded him. So very expensive, but for me, it was about how many games you're going to play or potentially play for the rest of the year.
Yeah. I mean, if Mitch Barnett was even 750k, I'd probably consider going in this week, but just at 860k.
No, I think, listen, regardless of the price, because I think most of us had plenty of cash, right? We had to
Yeah.
get rid of Max King and Icon, blah, blah, blah. I had to get rid of Arrow, who was worth quite a few bucks. It's not the cost of the guy. It's the fact that he's only going to play 7 out of 8 games back last week. And that for me was enough to exclude him from my sort of deliberations.
Yeah. That's pretty much all Warriors players. But Tommy, any
Tommy,
interest in him after that big 91?
Yeah, listen, I love Tom, and if ever the world wanted to see an athlete stay healthy, we've kind of all collectively got our fingers crossed for this young man.
Yeah,
Um, him and his two brothers are just fantastic assets for Manly. It's just crazy how good they are, the three of them. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to have Tom, but again, I've got this big sort of injury risk. He's just been dead unlucky all year. So because of that, I wouldn't include him. 91 fit. He's probably one of the best fantasy or the best actual rugby league players in the game. But he's had a very unlucky year. So luck tends to follow you, good or bad tends to follow you. So I am fingers crossed, hoping that he stays healthy and continues to thrive as a player. But yeah, I wouldn't bring him in right now. I'm just still worried about injuries.
yeah. I mean, he's probably one of the most unluckiest players, but very good player
Yeah,
with
well,
what he could do.
there's still the big doubt I've got in my mind about bringing in Cleary.
Yeah,
Cleary's,
I was just about
the,
to say
the
that.
re-injury rate on hamstrings in the real world, and as I said, I coach in the real world, is massive. And we always worried about people coming back from hamstring injuries on whether they'll re-injure it because there's a lot of stats that says it happens all the time.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm worried about that as well. But that's the punt. That's the punt that I'm taking this week.
yeah. So with him having three Hemis in 18 months, do you think that there's a world where you could anti-pod Nathan Cleary and hope for the best, or do you think it's just pretty much he's a must-have this week? We know what he can do and he's so underpriced.
Yeah, I don't think 825 or whatever it is underpriced when you look at there's probably only about 7 players that are over 800 grand. So he's reasonably priced for what you get. I think the thing with Nathan is I think his average is whatever, it's high 50s or something, right? So there's
Yeah,
plenty of other players that have got a better average or a better last 3 game average than that. But it's the forget about the base or the average or the run rate sort of thing. Nathan's more about the what can he score in a good game sort of thing, and he can score 100. And if you don't have him when he does score 100, you're just going to be left in the dust. And
yeah,
that's kind of why I think I've sort of pushed all my chips in on having Nathan for the rest of the season.
yeah. I mean, I think Turbo does have that kind of aspect too, but I think he's
Yeah.
just a little bit more riskier than Cleary, like, and hasn't really. He's been a good fantasy player, but hasn't really been fantasy like gun as long as Cleary has.
Yeah, and you look at his 91 this year versus everything else he's scored this year. He's had 20s in there. He's had quiet games. So I don't know. I love Tom and I wish him all the best, and I really hope he stays healthy in real life because he seems like a very nice young man. But I just wouldn't take the risk with my side.
Yeah, I think he's a very good player, Tom. But just the last one, 752k Angus Crichton. Are you interested in him at all? Just imagine having a David Defeater and Angus Crichton edge position. I think it'd be pretty
Yeah,
handy.
I think it would. I was on the Gus bus, as we're calling it there for a while. For quite a while, made a lot of money out of Angus, as did most people. But no, I've kind of I've got some good edge players now. I've got David Fifita, I've got Britton Nakora. So I'm pretty comfortable, and I've got some coverage if those guys get injured. I think Angus will do incredibly well. But the other little doubt in my mind is the forward pack for the Roosters this year has been a bit all over the place. You've got
Mm.
May that we all kind of think should have been playing big minutes the whole season and just doesn't. I had Nat Butcher for a while, and he was just not getting the sort of minutes I thought he needed. So I don't know. I think the coaching staff at the Chooks have just been a bit hard to predict in terms of how that forward roster works universally across the club. So I think I'm kind of stay clear of the Roosters for the rest of the season. I don't really have a choice now anyway. I don't have any room for luxury trades.
Yeah.
But he's very great. He's a fantastic player. I wouldn't be running after any Roosters right now.
Yeah, that's
Not
fair enough. I think he will average about 55, but again, with that buy there and they're comfortable in the eight. They could rest him around 27, which he only plays 5 of the next 7 games. And yeah, there's just a bit of risk there, I think. like
Yeah, I think
game wise.
he's probably less risky than some of the other forwards that they've got, but because he's got runs on the board in terms of being an 80-minute player.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, I've kind of lost a little faith in trying to predict what the coaching staff are doing there with their forward roster.
Yeah, and I mean you got Fafita and Keon who are both probably over Angus Crichton as a fantasy option. So it's kind of like he's probably the third string
Yeah.
edge.
Yeah, I think right now, based on form, love Angus is an unbelievable sort of athlete. He'd be good to have in anyone's side, including your fantasy side. But you're right, probably Kolomatangi is probably doing a little bit better right now.
Yeah, and he's got that middle duel, which I think is really handy for him.
Yeah, I'm playing him as a mid, for example, right?
Yeah. But thanks for watching, and do you have anything else to add or say?
No, not really, mate. Thanks for inviting me along. Hopefully, I can provide a little bit of insight for your watchers. And again, thanks for inviting me along, mate. It's been great.
Thanks for coming, mate. Really appreciate it.
All right, thanks, fella.